Our continuing coverage of the big story of the border watch. It's the state of Texas versus the federal government over that controversial new immigration law that allows police to arrest and deport people suspected of being in the country illegally.
The law goes a step further than Arizona's Senate Bill 1070, known as the Show Me Your Papers law. The Supreme Court blocked most of that law back in 2012, and it didn't include sending people back to Mexico.
We finally got a law crafted in a way to be able to withstand legal challenge. The Texas law contradicts the Arizona decision that was issued by the United States Supreme Court back in 2012.
Today, a federal appeals court heard arguments over that law after a Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals blocked that enforcement late last night. Now, that ruling came just hours after the Supreme Court cleared the way for the law to take effect.
So quite a bit of back and forth there throughout the evening. It continues, and the Texas law plays out in the courts now. ABC 15's Lillian Donahue looking into what this means specifically for Arizona if this case sees the U.S. Supreme Court again.
The question in Texas's case is, do states have the ability to take immigration enforcement into their own hands? A similar question made right here in Arizona more than a decade ago.
For a brief few hours Tuesday, the Supreme Court allowed Texas law to stand, kicking power back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, meaning law enforcement in Texas could arrest people if they have reason to believe they crossed the border illegally. That law then blocked again by the Fifth Circuit Court hours later.
It created chaos.
Arizona is watching what happens in Texas closely as Republican lawmakers and some sheriffs hope to follow suit.
Federal government has failed us. They're not coming to our rescue. We're going to have to do some things like Texas has done to defend ourselves.
More than a decade ago in Arizona, Senate Bill 1070 aimed to let law enforcement ask people for their legal status if suspected of being undocumented.
Governmental entities or police entities to stop and ask, show me your papers.
Back then, leading to protests and lawsuits before being mostly overturned by the Supreme Court.
States being able to regulate immigration, that has already been decided by the Supreme Court in Arizona versus United States, that it's unconstitutional.
While Texas's law has differences, the League of United Latin American Citizens says current efforts give them a feeling of deja vu, with similar concerns once held with Arizona's SB 1070.
It will lead to possible discrimination of citizens already in the United States.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the law doesn't target any specific race. In Arizona, our state sheriff's association weighing in on a potential law here, saying they're not hoping to take over enforcement, but rather come alongside federal agents.
You see somebody climbing over the border wall or coming through a hole in the fence. Why wouldn't local law enforcement be able to arrest those people? We believe that they should.
And some Arizona Republican lawmakers believe with the current makeup of the Supreme Court, a similar law is possible.
They're allowing what that state law is to go ahead and continue. I think that Arizona is ripe to be the next state to do this.
As for legislation efforts right here in Arizona, Governor Hobbs already vetoed a bill similar to the law in Texas, but Republican lawmakers here say they'll keep trying. Reporting in Phoenix, Lillian Donahue, ABC 15, Arizona.